you have a mask, go ahead and use it. Ideally, everyone should use a mask regardless of which mask. It could be the one that you created, or it could be any type of mask. If you really want to protect yourself, then it should be N95 because it's the smallest one. However, that's not recommended for the population in general. First, because in the hospitals they need it. Second, because most people, what they're gonna do is to get infected by handling the mask. So that's why the recommendations are not there. If, however, we were in a country where there is abundance of N95 accessible to everyone, then the recommendation would be for everyone to use it. Like in China, like in Singapore, Japan. If you see pictures from there, most people wear masks. And why they're using it, using them, is not really because we want to avoid getting infected, because again, probably by handling and not using the OSHA protocols to take the mask and dispose of it, probably we're gonna somehow mishandle it. But it's more because if every single person in the store, every single person that has to go to an essential errand outside the house, if everyone, all of us are using a mask, then if any one of us cough, sneezes, or anything else, probably it's going to stay there. It's not gonna go airborne, okay? So that's the reason. It's for everyone to keep our breath to ourselves. Okay, what's that? Go ahead.
I have some other questions that are coming through here.
Okay, but then I'm gonna go back to Adriana's. Go ahead, and I'm gonna finish with yours. Don't worry. Or I'm gonna come before the end with yours.
Okay, there you go. Just to make sure that we have a little bit of time for all the questions. So hold that thought, Adriana. Remind us. It says, is there an official update or recent reliable news about treatment of the virus or even vaccine development?
Yeah, the most recent, I'm gonna start with vaccine. The most recent on vaccine, it's still 18 months. Unfortunately, that was the latest from the World Health Organization, and there have been tracking. You have plenty of countries that have already filed for a vaccine trial. So you have Israel, you have Cuba, you have like all over the place, like countries that already have filed for different vaccines. Yet the process of making a vaccine means that there's a lot of trial and error. And at the end, it has to be safe. And people should not have seizure or develop autism, as people say about the flu vaccine, the MMR, the measles vaccine. So there's plenty of safety tests that need to be done in humans, and that takes time. Okay, so regarding treatment, the treatment that has been shown to work has been hydrochloroquine, and probably we're gonna have some availability in Puerto Rico back in April. That's great news at some point in April. Right now there are shortages all over the United States. Puerto Rico, that's Plaquenil in the branded version. It's a generic, and it's better than chloroquine because it's less toxic. So some of you have seen that people have bought chloroquine online, and even hydroxychloroquine, and have been using it without the appropriate titration. So I'm not gonna talk to you guys on doses and how to use it, because my recommendation would be really for you to use Teleconsulta MD from SSS, and if you need hydroxychloroquine, to have a physician talking to you through video and explaining how to use it. Okay, don't try to use any dose that you find around. But if you can find it somehow, go ahead and get it, because there's some efficacy that been shown. That's it. At the same time, the efficacy that been shown has been shown in so few cases so far, that's why some the community is divided, and some say it's unreliable, and they excluded in the French study, they excluded um, people that died, they excluded severe cases, they excluded certain populations that would be awesome to know if it really works in everyone and why in those not. Um, so the power of the studies wasn't great. Uh, anyway, the mechanism makes sense. So I believe it's not, I'm not certain, right? I believe that it could work actually if you combine hydroxychloroquine with zinc, because what zinc does is that would insert in the mechanism of replication of the virus. So actually that was known all over. I mean, for decades have been known that if you take zinc supplementation, your body can use it to fight viruses. So you're gonna see, even with influenza, most of the common viruses, that you're gonna have less days and less severe disease, viral disease, if you are taking zinc. I used to do it anyway before that. However, with hydroxychloroquine, you're actually potentiating the zinc effect. So that's why it works. If you use it in combination, that would be great. And the study that is most famous from France used not only hydroxychloroquine, but they also add an antibiotic, azithromycin, and probably that works because in people that are having long involvement, um, I'm not talking about the very mild cases, people that are having involvement, then for those people, the azithromycin would help with secondary bacterial infection, because there's a lot of fluid and it's like a feast for bacteria to live in along with all that fluid with proteins and stuff. Okay, so could I go back to Adriana, or there is another one
I
that
have
was?
more questions.
Go.
I have read that the virus has lower chances to propagate in high temperatures. Should we be concerned that another increase in cases can occur later this year, like in the fall?
Yes, yes. It's true that the virus lasts less time in surfaces. However, this is a virus that really spreads because the virus lives not on surfaces. It lives only in the respiratory tract of alive human beings. So that's why quarantine works, because if we keep someone that a human being that is alive away from another human being that doesn't have it, then it cannot go from one respiratory tract to the other. In surfaces, remember that this is like you have like a cloud around you while you're breathing, and the virus stands there and slowly goes to the floor. So in surfaces, it would last depending on which surface and the temperature. If it's higher temperature, it lasts less. And it depends if it's a metal, wood, or most surfaces, including the sidewalk, it tends to be around 8 hours that the virus will be there. And that's why you should disinfect, Adriana, all products. And we can talk about fruits. You can wash them. If you're gonna eat anything, an apple, orange, whatever, you should wash it with soap. Then after has no soap, you can eat it. So
David, in terms of temperatures,
yeah,
should there be a concern that when the temperature it starts to drop, like let's say in the fall and further, that there could be like risk of higher spreading because of lower temperatures?
it's not because of lower temperature. The concern is not because in Puerto Rico could be more, it's gonna be colder. In other countries, maybe. I don't know if the context is in Puerto Rico versus not. In any way, the most important factor for the spreading of this virus, unfortunately, it's not the surfaces. There are not the surfaces. Why we know that? That was the original expectation, that you'll get a lot of cases, then summer comes and it goes down, similar to influenza, and then you have another season once the cold comes back. But what we have seen is that currently we have 98% of all Latin American countries with cases, and they're going as exponentially up as in any cold country, and similar with Asia. So the spread has been exponential regardless of a tropical environment or not. So that expectation that was initially that once we get tropical in United States or Europe, once United Kingdom, England, they get warmer and wetter, this is going to go away by itself. It's no longer there, and because in Malaysia and Puerto Rico, you could have a bunch of cases even in warm weather. So, okay, makes sense?
Yes, it does. Did that help, Christina?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. If you have the coronavirus, is okay taking Tylenol for the fever or ibuprofen?
You know, I haven't checked into that one. I would say acetaminophen would be better, just because there have been so much buzz in with ibuprofen. I have heard epidemiologists in YouTube, that the ones I follow, but that has been like a month ago, so I'm not current with it, saying don't use ibuprofen, and these are people that really know their stuff, and they're saying that to decrease the fever, with ibuprofen NSAIDs with it's being correlated with worse symptoms. However, at this point, I would say I don't know, because doesn't make sense to me. I just heard that, and I would like to prove it to see if there are any studies on ibuprofen and if it's real. For now, I would say just try to avoid it just in case, because maybe it's true and we don't know the mechanism yet. And probably with acetaminophen, you're better off.
Okay. How long does the virus is active in the air?
Okay, it depends. If the person is asymptomatic and is just breathing, the exact amount of minutes I can look for it, but it should be less than 10 minutes, way less than 10 minutes. So I don't know exactly the amount of minutes, but it's in the 1-digit realm, right? It's not double digit. It should be around that. If the person is sneezing, then you're going to have it for longer. The cloud is bigger, and it would take longer for all those particles to droplets, very small ones, to start dropping. So it depends on how symptomatic is the person.
I have a question about that, and this question is mine. We have no more questions through the chat. It's about that, if it can actually propagate through the air. I read an article, like news this week, actually I think it was yesterday, relating to that it has been proven that it cannot be, it is not contagious through air.
It's not?
It is not. Well, so I don't know if that's accurate, okay. Or
I would like to see it, actually, because the concern from the World Health Organization when they announced it, that all healthcare personnel and staff should get ready for airborne disease, it's more in the context of air conditioning, a room that is closed, a closed environment with air conditioning. But if you're in the beach, if you're in walking by the sidewalk and there is ventilation, that's not a concern. Because as long as the wind would take it, you should not be afraid of, oh, my neighbor is breathing by my house, or it's outside and it could go through the window. If there's ventilation, the amount of virus will be so small that probably even if you breathe it, you're gonna fight it right away. So the concern here has been with people that are in close environments, such as a bus, like riding a bus with someone else, and there has been documentation on people that were in the same bus that get infected, and there was no contact at all, even as far as around 6 feet sitting from one another. And also in call centers where people were already following all the protocols to not to touch each other, to maintain distances. And by being in a place for a long period of time, then there's the risk. Because after a long time, the clouds start to expand, you see. So for example, you're gonna see press conferences where there's people right in there. At this point, most health departments are having healthy press conferences with separation and shorter, right? Not more than 2 hours, because eventually it would be low. Okay.
We have more. Is it true that the virus adheres to hair?
Yes, yes. So now I can go back to Adriana. Okay, so once you go to the supermarket, okay, you can touch stuff as long as you have a plan to wash your hands or have hand sanitizer. So you're gonna pick stuff. Hopefully the supermarket should be following the recommendations. Probably they're not written yet, but they should know to start wiping around and disinfecting and cleaning everything, but they're not gonna clean every single can, every single cornflakes box. So go ahead and touch it, but be mindful that you're not gonna touch your face, you're not gonna touch your eyes, you're not gonna scratch yourself. And then in the way out, if they have hand sanitizer, they should, every single place, store that is essential should have it, then you just disinfect yourself. Now, the bags probably are contaminated, odds are that they are. So put it, have a place in your car where you're gonna put those bags, trunk, anywhere that you want, and know that there you're gonna disinfect once you're home. Okay, so once you get home, the hair. Once you get home, if you have someone inside that can open the door for you, great. If not, just be mindful whatever you're touching, the knobs, etc., to clean those afterwards. Okay, so you get to your kitchen, you put all the groceries in one place that would be close to the trash can, so you can throw all the bags into the trash can. And you're gonna take the content out, and you're gonna have close by some, could be soap if you don't have anything else, but hopefully you're gonna have at least wipes or Lysol, any disinfectant. It could be any disinfectant, but just regular soap would make it, because most of them would break the virus ability to infect you. So just start cleaning each one. The fruits, as I said previously, if you bought fruits, just wash them and use soap, unfortunately, and then try to take it out so you don't ingest the soap, but with soap they're gonna be clean, and have a place where you're gonna put them. So disinfect your hands, wash your hands, and then proceed to do all of that and throw it away. Same with packages from UPS. Receive the package, throw the outer part, the box, and then the content you can disinfect it. Now, once you are done doing that, even if it would be better if you don't have to do that and someone else could do that too, so you could go straight to the restroom, to the bathroom. And what you're gonna do? You're gonna have there se llama tirar ropa sucia,
Laundry basket.
laundry basket. Yeah. So throw all your clothes in a laundry basket or box that you have designated for going outside, only when it's essential. I'm not recommending people to go outside. So if it's essential to buy grocery, then you throw all your clothes there, socks, everything that you have, and then take a shower. You're gonna take a shower and you're gonna wash your hair with shampoo. Okay, if you don't have shampoo, use soap, but wash your hair with something that would kill the virus, and either would kill it. So just shampoo your hair, and then you're fresh, and continue the process that you were doing, or just join your family afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. We have one more here. We have two more actually.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any specific or different recommendations for pregnant women during this time?
Yes. Yes. There probably there's going to be guidance in the next few weeks coming from the health department in Puerto Rico to have a coronavirus test at the 36th week. It's expected that many couples are gonna be pregnant during this quarantine, as expected, right? They love each other and don't protect every single night. So they're gonna be together and watching Netflix. Okay. So anyway, the point is that many babies are gonna be born probably. So screening probably is going to be recommended once we have enough tests to test the population. Um, and the person should not, unfortunately, should not try to go to the hospital, but try to reach your gynecologist that person was going to engage with. Or if it's already engaged with someone, that's awesome. Most gynecologists at this point are doing telemedicine, okay? In reality, most of them are not using Zoom. Most are using the phone, but it's fine. As long as you can talk to someone that knows you, that you have seen before in prenatal visits, that'd be great. So have all your management through calls. Sonograms, that would be a little bit harder, but to do. However, to go to a health facility at this point is going to probably put you at risk of contracting the virus. When you should go to a health facility, pretty much if you have flu symptoms and inability to breathe, you're starting to have shortness of breath, you should run to the ER. You should run to the ER if it's critical enough, what happened to you. It could be a trauma, it could be any situation that you feel is so complicated you cannot manage at home and you cannot call a physician to help you out at home, then you should go to the hospital. Because in the hospital, odds are you're gonna get the virus. And maybe it won't do too much to you, but it could do it to someone else that eventually you get interaction with. At this point, there seems to be no crossing of the placenta of the virus. It's small, the virus, but it's not as small to go through the placenta, apparently. No babies have been having it yet. A physician should be following you because there is a risky period postpartum after giving birth. Right after labor, the first 48 hours are critical for a physician to be following you up. So if you're gonna give birth, then just I recommend follow your gynecologist recommendation, your OB, I should say, obstetrician recommendations. In terms of where that person would help you out with the labor and they're starting to be creative right now, the obstetricians, in terms of what sanitized area they're gonna use. But those first 48 hours for some women in New York, at least, there have been severe complications, COVID-19. They were asymptomatic. There was a decrease in the immune response during that time due to several factors, hormones, blood flow, and they have gone from asymptomatic to severe suddenly. So a physician should be on the look for you and say that.
Okay. We have another question here. Are there recipes for homemade wipes or wipes made with paper towels, bleach, dishwashing liquid, and water a good alternative to the real thing?
Yes, if you run out and you can find something to disinfect with, as long as you have any bleach, that would be great. So bleach is gonna destroy it, even if it's diluted. Yet, I will say, if you're trying to use alcohol, like isopropyl alcohol, the typical one that is being used on wounds, don't dilute it too much. If you have already a 60% one, don't add too much stuff to it because it needs 60% or more to dilute it. But the Clorox, chlorine, it's strong and it's powerful. So even if you dilute it somehow, it's gonna probably work.
Okay, so I have an Abarcan that is listening to this with her mom. She's older and scared, and the news isn't as calming as this gentleman, I guess. David, he's talking about you. Have you, I'm just reading it as it comes through. Have you considered doing a call? So this is just more for us. Okay, never mind. Yes,
Okay.
but we will consider it. Thank you for the feedback. Let me see. Micah said, thank you. So there's one question. Do you think it is realistic to think this quarantine will end on 4/12? What do you think should be the next actions from government to avoid this virus propagation?
Okay, the next actions, actually, I'm currently supporting some of the response as we speak, so I'm aware of some of the actions. Next steps, I'm gonna go with the first question that I believe is more pressing to you guys. So the first answer would be no. 4/12 is not expected to be the end of this quarantine. As we right now, the epidemiological models show that we might be reaching peak at some point in April, but that means that we are peaking in the amount of cases. We're gonna be in the worst part of the curve. So that means a lot of people having the disease and hospitals struggling to take in cases and care for those that don't have it. The issue here, as we have talked before, is not the virus per se. The mortality of this virus is supposed to be zero, similar to 0%, similar to Singapore and other countries that currently have 0% mortality, even though they have started months ago. Mostly Singapore has been a real example of this, Taiwan. So they have very small mortalities. However, the mortality varies. It's so different depending on which country you are. So that's the hard part. If in the country you are, the amount of cases grows slowly, then you know that of all people that have the virus, somewhat 20% are gonna need hospitalization because they are severe. And if the number is 40 of all cases that have the infection, then you can deal with 20% of 40 people in the hospital. But if all of the sudden our hospitals could, our personnel, healthcare staff, and hospital are ready to work with intensive care unit and complicated cases, but if all of them come at once, that's the issue. So the 20% of a million people, we have in Puerto Rico more than a million people, we cannot deal with the 20% of more than a million people in the hospital at once. So that's the issue. And once we are not able to deal with many cases, as is happening in Italy, in Spain, that then choices are needed to be made in terms of who's gonna use the mechanical ventilation equipment, who's gonna be in that bed in isolation, who's gonna use the other bed in intensive care unit. And unfortunately, that's why probably you're gonna have heard that in Italy, Spain, they're starting to decide, excuse me, sir, I know you have respiratory distress, you're not breathing well, how old are you? The person say, depending on the area in Italy, 80 years old, then they're gonna say, oh, sorry, but you don't qualify for treatment. Please go back home. And back home, the person's not gonna survive. Once there is a shortness of breath and respiratory stress, this is a pneumonia in both lungs that the person's gonna drown, it's gonna feel like drowning his own body. It's not gonna make it. So unfortunately, in Milan, areas in the north where the is stronger the epidemic, they have decreased it to 60. So people older than that, they're saying, unfortunately, there's no space. So that's the issue. That's why mortality goes up. That's what I mean. That's why I want to say it. And we're trying our best to keep Puerto Rico from getting there. But we're there. We're working on that. So that's why I say probably it's not gonna be in the 12th of April. I would say June is the estimation if the message gets out and people understand the need to stay home and follow the recommendations, then understand the why. Maybe eventually I'm gonna help on getting the why to more people like you guys. I've been trying to explain it around. Then in June, probably it's gonna start going down, and that's when maybe therapy would be out. And if there's therapy out, then people can start going out, right? So if it's therapy that works really, we're not talking about Tamiflu-like, because Tamiflu would decrease the amount of flu days if you take it very early. If that's happening with the therapies that get out, including hydroxychloroquine, then maybe it's not gonna be what we're waiting for. We're waiting for a cure, and if we have it, and it would be like this, then people can go out because you're gonna get infected, and then you take the medicine if there's access to it.
We have one question. David, would you advise against carry out, delivery, or fast foods?
Will you please repeat that?
Would you advise against carry out, delivery, or fast foods? If you think that's not recommended to like use those.
Yeah, that's a tough one, mostly because we don't want to cook, right? So, and sometimes it's not a possibility to cook stuff if I don't have the materials or ingredients and or any reason. Sometimes we just need to to buy. Try to buy food the less you can, the least you can. Try to cook yourself most of the stuff. Because it won't survive in that temperature. Once you're boiling anything, once you're frying anything, once you're heating up the food, it's not gonna survive the virus there. So that said, if you're gonna get a pizza, probably the pizza won't have coronavirus because it's gonna be so hot that it's not gonna survive the virus there. However, the box might. So if you're gonna do it, then do a similar process to what we talked with Adriana, right? Take your pizza, your box, and assume you're infected on your hands. It's not gonna go through your hands. Just wash your hands, throw out the box, put the pizza somewhere, be clean, and you can eat it afterwards without remorse, right? Try to eat hot stuff. I wouldn't go for sushi stuff at this point. Maybe in August I would try sushi again, but for now, nothing that is uncooked or I'm unable to clean it up or disinfect it, like fruits. If I can disinfect it, I've been eating fruits.
Okay, we have no more questions through chat. So if we still have 3 more minutes, are there any other questions or suggestions, David?
By the way, any questions, maybe you don't have them now, but if you have any questions that you feel that they're not being answered clearly by the press, send them my way. Send me an email or to Marta, and she can channel those to me and can back with, again, some responses. I don't have the answers to everything, but at least I'm gonna respond to your concern the best I can.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
We still have 2 more minutes. Time for more questions.
All right. So afterwards, you can make them. Okay. Be safe. Take care. And God bless you.
Thank you, David. That was
Thank
great.
you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.